Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Barbara Leuschen, who's our special co-host today. And her candidate is Ava Natalia Bravo, candidate for Las Vegas Justice of the Peace Department number 2. But before we get to Ms. Bravo, Ms. Leuschen, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for having me.
Tell us a little bit about you, because nobody knows who you are.
My name is Barbara Leuschen. I own a marketing agency out here called Blue Social Marketing. I'm from Orange County, California. I've lived in Las Vegas for about 10 years now. And, I just want to try and get involved in politics and see what we can do to change some things.
Beautiful. So, do you have any rants?
I do not. Maybe one, I wish these...
crazy drivers from California?
That too, yes. I hope these candidates just stop bashing each other, and just spend their money on actually telling us what they want to do instead of just all this negativity. So that's about it.
Yeah. I have one rant, and I know everybody has seen Clark County District Court Judge Erica Bello in the media. And, look, it's her own personal business. This is my opinion. It's her own personal business. I don't think what she's doing or what she's done should have any reflection on how she presides over the bench. You got judges that violate the Constitution and NRS, and she was in a hot tub and took a photo and put on her social media. Big deal. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't. If it doesn't affect the way she governs on the bench or how she rules on the bench, then I would just leave it alone. That's my opinion on Judge Erica Bello. So, anyways. Ms. Bravo.
Yes.
How you doing? How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, a little bit about me.
Yes.
Well, I am a child of immigrant parents.
Huh.
My parents are from Argentina.
Okay.
And I was born here in the States, but learned English in the school system.
¿Habla español?
Sí. Hablo español
mucho?
Mi primera lengua.
Oh, beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So I do know Spanish. I learned English. Maybe I don't know either of them very well, but I do my best. I had a little bit of difficulty in the school system only because my parents, having emigrated from Argentina, left Argentina and never progressed with the culture in Argentina. And then coming here to the States, had difficulty acclimating to the culture here. So I always like to say I'm the product of an Argentinian culture from years ago that remained strict and had very high expectations and was of a culture more so that children should be seen and not heard type thing.
Yes.
So that was difficult. But it made me who I am today, and I don't begrudge that at all. Okay. Growing up, I became very headstrong, I would say, in trying to do for myself rather than relying on people. Mm-hmm. So I started studying. I never really planned on being a lawyer. As a matter of fact, my father had once said to me, "You should be a lawyer." And being the rebel that I was, it was never will I be a lawyer.
And what kind of rebel were you?
All within the confines of the law. There you go. I guess I just never really liked being told what to do as a child. And it was difficult because of the strict nature of my upbringing.
Right.
So I went to school. Education was extremely important to my parents and to me. My dad used to tell me, knowledge is something no one can ever take away from you. You can lose everything, and the next day you wake up and you still have the knowledge that you have. So he felt it very important to stress the importance of education. I took that seriously. I went to an all-girls school in California. I went to college in undergrad in San Diego State, graduated from Cal State Fullerton, went on to law school.
Where'd you go to law school?
Western State in California. I graduated from college as a criminal justice major. I was a counselor in juvenile hall at the age of 20. So I was still an undergrad, and I was working with juvenile delinquents in a maximum part of the juvenile hall. So I was essentially working with children accused of murder, rape, kidnapping, very, very serious crimes. I went into the system very naive, feeling like if you can just hug and love everybody, it would all be okay. Yes. I've learned that structure plays an important part in the love and structure and discipline portion of keeping people out of trouble. Mm-hmm. Within that system, because I speak Spanish, I promoted quickly and became a probation officer. As a probation officer, I was part of one of the first, if not the first, coalitions that came together that worked with multi-agency approaches to both apprehension and deterrence in juvenile and the adult system. So I was a probation officer. I went through post-certifications. I was armed. I worked as a partner with the gang suppression unit, both in Orange PD and Santa Ana PD, at the point in time that
What year was this? Sorry.
I think it was 1991 or 92.
Okay. I was still there.
Were you? Yeah. You know Kevin Reese?
No.
Oh, he was my partner. Very, very, very good person. Amazing. So we patrolled, we did the weekends, and we were on homicide scenes. And
that must be terrifying, the homicide scenes.
You know, what you realize is that at the point, and unfortunately, a lot of the individuals that were dead were children. You know, I had probationers that were 13, 14 years old, and, you know, they were really tough in their own mind, right? So they'd come see me, and they had the walk, and they had the talk, and, you know, and I'll never forget one day I had one of my clients, or probationers, I should say, in my office, and then 2 hours later, he was dead in the street. And in my office, he was a pretty tough kid, but on the street, he was a dead 14-year-old. And as a probation officer, I was able to remain on the scene, canvass the different neighborhoods for witnesses, speak to the people in the area, and stay there from when the coroners arrive, from where they strip the body, they bag the body, and then they move the body. As part of that team, I worked with the prosecutor in the district attorney's office, and I went to law school to do that prong of the job. I went to school because I wanted to fulfill that facet of what I was doing at that time. So I went to law school. I was married just prior to going into law school. I had been married a couple of years, I think. So went into law school. While in law school, I was working full-time as a probation officer, going to school at night, commuting. I had 2 kids while I was in law school, and I had my 3rd child when I had...
Single parent, or?
At that time, I was married.
Okay.
At that time, I was married. And I was pregnant with my 3rd child when I took bar and passed the bar exam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You took the bar pregnant.
I did, which is very interesting because I was very sick. And I don't know if it was a combination of the pregnancy or the stress of taking the bar exam.
You passed it the first time?
I did.
Oh, congrats. Some people take 5 times.
I know.
I won't mention any names.
No, I passed it the first time. Thank the Lord. I had said I'm only taking it once. I had packaged up my books and gotten rid of them. I wasn't taking it again. And it was very, very difficult. It was difficult.
It's one of the hardest. Nevada, New York, and California are the 3 hardest states to pass the bar. Yeah.
Yeah, they really are.
And when some people tell me, hey, I got a bar license in New York and Nevada, I'm like, wow, you must be really smart.
Well, there's all different degrees of intelligence, I think,
Absolutely.
There's book smart, there's street smart, there's common sense, a combination of all that.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because that's absolutely right.
So after I passed the bar exam, I applied for a job with the district attorney. At that time...
Here?
No, in Orange County, California. And at that time, the county had declared bankruptcy. Okay. So I was put on the list, and I was devastated that I was on the list. 1993, 92, 93. Oh. Yeah, the gang unit was my last assignment in the probation department, and then I went to the district attorney's office. Okay. But I applied for a job with the FBI, and I was offered a job with the FBI and the district attorney's office. I chose the district attorney's office because at that time, I had 3 children under 3, and 4 months in Quantico seemed like a lifetime to be away from my children.
Yes.
No regrets.
How old were they at the time? Oh, they were all under 3, but how old were they?
Oh my gosh. My daughter was born in 1990, my son in 91, and my youngest in 93. So there you have it.
That was a handful all by itself.
It was. But the father of my children was an excellent father, is an excellent father, and he was very, very instrumental in my success by being the father he was. So even though we're not together, I'm not going to take that away from him.
Absolutely.
So when I accepted the job in the DA's office, I started through that system. I would have anticipated going through the gang unit in that assignment, but I didn't. I never did. I ended up primarily working the majority of my career, I think maybe 17 years of it. And I think I was with the DA's office around 25 years. Okay. And doing special victim cases, sexual assaults, child molest, child abuse. I did 5 years in the physical child abuse unit where I specialized in shaken baby cases and physical abuse, then kind of went into the sex unit. Okay. I retired with the district attorney's office at that time.
How long were you there?
When I retired with the county, I had almost 31 years in because my probation experience.
Wow. 31 years in?
Yes.
I'm no longer a part of 32.
My daughter's 33, so that would be a problem.
Please continue.
But thank you for the compliment.
Absolutely.
So at the time, throughout that time, I ended up getting divorced from my husband, the father of my children, and was a single mom for a while, but single mom only because when they were with me, and they were with him, they were with him. I don't want to make it seem as if he wasn't present in their life. He could say he was a single dad, just like I could say he was a single mom.
Exactly.
And I think that I have 3 exemplary children. My daughter is an engineer. My son is here now. He's in marketing and does part of his own business. And my youngest is a firefighter. So I'm very proud of my 3 children and their work ethic. And
any grandbabies?
Yes, I have 1 grandbaby.
Look at you just light up when you said that.
Yes, I'm super excited. I mean, he just turned 1 and people say, isn't it the best thing being a grandparent? And I have to say, it's equal to being a parent. Yeah. I love him as much as I love my kids. So I think that you love your grandchild more only because they're an extension of something you already loved.
Yes.
So back to me. So then I retired. And at that time, I had met my current husband in 2003. And he lives here. Okay. So for 20 years, we had a long-distance relationship, back and forth, back and forth. For 20 years.
They said those don't last.
Oh, well, we're proof that they do. But, I think you'd agree with me, Steve, when I say that relationships are the hardest thing you'll ever do. And if you don't put anything into it, you're not going to get anything out of them.
That's true.
So
Sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves.
yeah, and we do.
Swallow your pride.
Yeah, we do.
And look the other
Look
way.
the other way, or you bite your lip.
Yes.
So I was going back and forth, and for the majority, he has his own business here in town, and
What type?
he's a little bit of everything. He
Jack of all trades,
yes, he
master of none.
is jack of all trades. It's less about him than about me right now. So.
She goes, stay focused.
Yes. So we ended up going back and forth, and there was some downtime between our relationship, clearly because of the difficulties of a long distance relationship. So, but he also was a strong presence with my children. He has a very good relationship with my children.
Does he have kids himself?
Just my kids are his kids.
Oh, beautiful.
We share them.
Okay.
And now he's a granddad too.
Yes.
And then when...
You want to give him a shout out?
No. No. I retired, and it was his pushing me, essentially, to take the bar exam in Nevada. He said, I spent a lot of my time in California because you were stationed out there and you had to be there. And he says, now I want to kind of be a little more present in Las Vegas. And he really wanted me to take the bar exam. And I had said, I'm never taking another bar exam. But I did. I told him I'd only take it once. And I did. I took it in 2019 and passed on my first try.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I'm now working in town. So that's a little bit about me. I'm sure you probably know more about me. So I don't know if you know that much more, but yes. I'd like to say I reinvented myself when I came to Las Vegas.
Beautiful. So since Barbara is the first time co-host, I'm going to let her start asking the questions.
No.
Yes.
No, Steve.
Come on.
No, don't do this to me. No.
I also adopt rescues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love animals.
No. Okay, don't do this.
You're making her
nervous.
nervous.
I did.
Yes, you go.
Yeah? Okay.
You're making her nervous.
No, he's not.
So Miss Bravo.
Yes.
Why do you want to run for this particular seat?
I selected this seat for a number of reasons, only a few which I will share.
Okay.
I selected this position because it's occupied by someone who hasn't been challenged. And if I'm correct, I don't think this person has ever been challenged. I could be wrong. Okay, well.
As far as what I looked at. Never.
Right, and that's as far as what I looked at too. Nothing's absolute. Google can lie to you. I've learned that, but I believe in the system, and I believe that, you know how they say steel sharpens steel and it makes you better? Like an honest friend is better than someone that just tells you to lie. I think the system needs its checks and balances. So I looked at a variety of opportunities for me, and I settled on this one.
What do you bring to the bench in this case? What do you bring to the bench that's not there right now in that department?
Well, I'm not going to talk about the department. I will.
All right. What do you bring to the bench?
Okay.
That is unique to this department.
I think what I bring to the bench is experience in 2 states. Okay. I bring a vision, not necessarily a vision. I bring a background of adversity, hard work, ethics, and overall, someone who has practiced on both sides for a long time. I had probation officer experience. I had district attorney experience. When I retired from the DA's office while studying for the bar exam here, I worked as minors counsel. So I represented minors in the foster system.
Okay. So you familiar with family court?
I worked with social services very closely. And then now I represent individuals who are indigent and accused of very serious crimes. So I have a perspective I don't think that a lot of people have. You have career prosecutors, you also have career public defenders, you have contract attorneys, you have civil attorneys. I really believe that my background kind of covers a gamut, and I don't think that's really present on the bench. I'm 30 years into a system that I love, that I believe in, that is not perfect. It's an imperfect system, but it's one of the best ones out there. I believe that. And I believe that in order to have a good system, just like when I go to trial as a prosecutor, I wanted to go up against the best defense attorney. As a defense attorney, I want to go up against a good prosecutor. It's how the system works. And a judicial position should be challenged. I don't think anybody should get comfortable in what they do. I think oftentimes...
They get black robe syndrome in my perspective.
I'm not saying that. That's your perspective. What I'm saying is this. When you become comfortable in a position, you stop working for the people and you start working for yourself because you take it for granted.
Yes, you do.
And I'm not saying that my opponent is doing that. I want to be clear on that. What I'm saying is that, if I were to get elected, I would anticipate drawing an opponent in 6 years because then the people get to decide if they like what I'm doing, if they want to keep me on the bench. I don't think anybody should presume that a job, is guaranteed. And I was given an example.
Nothing in life is guaranteed.
No. I was given an example by someone who recently interviewed me. And they said, I have, hypothetically, the head of my department who I really like and is doing a great job. So because, should I not want to keep him there because you decided to challenge him? And I thought on that afterwards when I left. And I had not answered it the way I would have I had an opportunity to think about the answer. And I think what the answer should have been in that situation would have been, promoting from within is different than running for public office.
That's true.
So that's what I wish I would have answered, and I didn't. And I really don't recall what my answer was at this time, but I know that was a question that stuck with me because it made me check myself. Right. And we always have to be checking ourselves. So,
I always tell people, if you want to know who your friends are, run for public office.
Oh, you're not kidding. You are not kidding. You know that very well.
Oh, extremely well.
But I've learned a lot through my career and through my experiences, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I have learned the hard way who my friends are. It's very difficult, but I'd rather know than not know. It's just... Okay, you move forward.
So, do you believe in term limits?
I do.
For judges?
Oh, for judges? I think that's a little different. Because
why so?
Let me think about it, because that was a question I wasn't expecting. Term limits, I think that your limits as far as when you're being elected, the people decide. I think the difference for judges as opposed to politicians, I think in general...
Judges are politicians?
No, in my opinion, they should never be politicians.
But they do the same thing politicians would do. I mean, a regular person running for assembly seat, for example, they call up, they ask for money, they call up, they ask for endorsements. What's the difference? They go to the ballot, they go vote.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a judge and an assemblyman, so to speak? Except for what they do in their jobs, but what's the difference of them getting elected?
It's a lot different because most politicians, like the ones you mentioned, assembly, they're aligned with the political party. judges, whether they're aligned with a political party or not, it's a nonpartisan race, and your politics should not ever come into play when you are presiding over the people that elected you.
I'm glad you said that.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my rebuttal to that.
Please.
How about the Clark County Recorder, the Clark County Assessor, the Clark County Public Administrator, the Clark County Sheriff? Those are all nonpartisan seats. Wait, sorry. Strike that. Those are partisan seats.
Yes.
Let's strike that. City Council,
Okay.
Clark County Commissioner, Clark County Sheriff. What was I thinking, Samson? City Council, Mayor, Clark County Commissioner, Clark County Sheriff. Those are all nonpartisan seats. Regents, school board trustees, all nonpartisan seats, and they all play the political game. So explain.
I can't really explain to you why people in those positions do what they do and how it is that you continue. With the judicial position, let me focus on the position I'm running for, because to start speculating on those other positions is getting into an arena where I haven't fully educated myself, and I would be unprepared to answer that intelligently, and I don't want to guess at it and then later on think, oh, no, that wasn't really right. So for me, for my position as a judge, it's nonpartisan, and you're supposed to be a neutral magistrate. Mm-hmm. You are not supposed to let politics come into play in the courtroom. And when you look at it in the big scheme of things, and Steve, I think you might agree with me on this, we get caught up in this little world, those of us who run in the circles with politicians or in politics, and unfortunately the judicial complexion has taken on a look that people would appear to think it's political. I have said in the past, and I maintain it today, that money should be left out of all of these elections.
Sure.
Completely.
I agree with you.
And I've said it to other individuals. I feel that money plays such an important role that the people that elect you don't really know who they're electing. And
you're at the bottom of the ballot.
Yeah. Not just that, but like people start throwing money, and then you are also like become indebted, whether or not you think you are or you're not. It's a very difficult situation. And
you don't even have to announce to the parties in front of you that you receive certain monies from this law firm or that attorney.
Well, you should. I believe.
You should.
Yes.
California has a law, $1,500, and you have to make that publicly from the bench.
Right, and I have had situations where I've appeared in California, and they don't say that I gave them money because I didn't get any money, but they say that I was their friend and colleague, and whether or not they used to always put that on the record, she's my friend, she's my colleague, I don't think I would be unfair, but you should know this, and there's different.
Or my former roommate.
Right?
I've seen that.
Yep. Or current roommate. Stranger things have happened, right?
I saw that show, Stranger Things.
Oh, I don't really watch TV. People ask me, did you watch this? Did you watch that? I don't have time.
I think it was on TV. Netflix or something like that. Yeah. So
I think a roundabout way. I don't know if I answered your question. We covered several topics. I'm happy to come back to anything I missed, or if you don't feel like I've answered you, I'm not trying to avoid.
Absolutely. So do you believe judges should be elected or appointed? Or do you believe we should have a Minnesota plan? And the reason why I'm saying that, because I don't know if you know Attorney Paul Potter. I had Attorney Paul Potter, and former federal prosecutor, and he owns his own law firm now, does civil litigation, and Judge Timothy Williams, and we were discussing the Minnesota plan, if judges should be elected or appointed, or we should have some type of Minnesota plan. We appoint and then they go up for retention for the voters. What do you think about that system?
I think if
Coming from somebody that's trying to be elected.
Yeah, in an ideal system, and this is the only thing I can come back to because there's strengths and weaknesses in all those plans. So for me, I would like to draw from each of them. And if I could implement an ideal plan, I think that everybody who runs for judicial office should have an equal amount of time in the media, in the press, in front of their voters, and that they should engage with them so that the voters could elect who they want. Without the money, without PACs trying to persuade somebody one way or the other, without all those mailers that just clog your mailbox and nobody really looks at, but you have to get because then you feel like you're missing out on something. Without, and a lot of those endorsements are paid for as well. So, they're not even, they are, you buy them, so it's like endorsed by, but what you're looking at is not your average person that is working and not in politics. And this was what I was saying earlier. They're the people that are electing you, and I feel as if they're misled by the mailers, by the politics, and by the money.
That's why we have shows like this.
And that's why I'm here.
Thank you. I was going to ask you this particular question, and I just want to see how you would answer.
Okay.
Ms. Bravo.
Yes.
If you were sworn in today,
yes,
okay, as a justice of the peace,
yes,
what would you say your strengths are, and what would you say your weaknesses are?
I would say my strengths are humility and compassion.
Interesting.
And an intent to educate myself before making a decision. I don't find myself as being hasty.
So you believe in civility on the bench?
I do.
Which some people don't have that.
It's unfortunate because I didn't get to my weaknesses either, and I'm not avoiding it. But I think it's unfortunate when civility is lacking because it's a reflection of our entire industry. The lawyers, the judges, the clerks. It trickles on down, the bailiffs. It's a system, and it's extremely unfortunate that something that happens when somebody is hasty or hindsight's 20/20, you say something and then you regret it. It can't be like, you can't unring the bell.
True.
So
once you said it, that's it.
That's it. So my weakness is, and I'm learning to work on it, is stopping and taking 3 seconds and thinking about my answer before I say it.
So you're going to take a lot of recess when you get on the bench.
I'm going to take a lot of breaths, I think. I
think we should take a recess. Believe me, you want me to take this recess.
Yes, I know that I need to not respond quickly, and sometimes I do, and that's a weakness. And I recognize it. For my
yoga. Take yoga.
I'm a certified yoga instructor.
You never mentioned that in your bio. Did she mention that in her bio?
I did that online during COVID, actually. So I did it just to learn for my own personal well-being. I took it while I was working online, and I decided to take a course. So I was stuck in the house. So, but it's, I think we're all imperfect people doing our best, and we all mess up. And then people, you get a pass, you get maybe 2 passes, but after a while you need to recognize that perhaps the position you're in isn't the position you should be in. And you find something that you're good at.
So a justice of the peace locks somebody up for 6 months maximum, and they put them in CCDC. Have you ever taken a tour of that facility?
I haven't. I'm in CCDC every day because I go see my clients, but I don't know as far as a tour of the whole thing. I know our office has been on a tour. I have not been on a complete tour, but as a probation officer, this is another interesting fact, if nothing else. As a probation officer, I was assigned in Orange County very young, and envision this, maybe 22 years old, 23 years old, and I was driving a van, and I was charged with going to the different facilities, the low to medium risk, not the high risk facilities, and I would interview inmates, and I would decide who was appropriate for work release. And then I'd come back, and I'd pick them all up in my van, and then I'd go and drop them off at the different facilities.
And what do you look for in that decision making?
You know, different factors. When you talk to somebody, and I see it now more than ever as a defense attorney, and as a prosecutor, you only get to see the one side. You see, and it's a horrific side because you deal with the victims, and it's difficult. It's very difficult. You have a huge weight on your shoulders and responsibility. And then on this side, you have a huge weight on your shoulders and responsibility because although somebody can commit a crime and there's not an excuse for the crime they've committed, there's a human factor that comes into play. Not always,
right.
But a lot of times where you can see why that person ended up where they're at. Sometimes, I used to say this as a prosecutor, that being a prosecutor, you have so much power, and you don't just prosecute and convict because you can. You do it when it's necessary, because sometimes being arrested is enough for someone.
True.
And sometimes they get an opportunity, and sometimes probation can give them that opportunity. Or there's different services that can be provided. That's all in a perfect world. I know that it's not that perfect, but when I look at my clients, and I defend individuals accused of Category A felonies. So I have a client that's facing the death penalty. I have clients accused of murder. I have clients accused of kidnapping, clients accused of sex trafficking, clients accused of narcotics trafficking. A lot of them looking at many, many years to life. And I've got some 19-year-old kids accused of these crimes. So, the system needs to work. And whether you're defending them or prosecuting them, you need to be good on both sides. And people get caught up in, if you're a prosecutor, you can't be a defense attorney. If you're a defense attorney, you can't be a prosecutor. When you believe in the Constitution, you should be able to do both.
Well, you draw two questions I was going to ask you. And were you a juvenile probationary officer?
Both, juvenile and adult.
So let me ask you something. I'm sure you're familiar with what happened at Rancho High School with the 17-year-old being killed by a gang of students going from the age of 13 to, I think, 18.
I'm probably not as familiar with it as you are, so let's go in with that.
You know that there is any therapist you talk to, maybe not any therapist, but most therapists, when you talk to them, they'll tell you that the human brain has not developed.
The male
yet.
Human brain doesn't fully develop.
Until they're about 30.
25 to 30, yes.
Yeah,
The female human
25.
brain. Yeah.
Women are a lot smarter than us. And they're,
sooner, yeah. They
they
can
go
to 19, yeah.
So at what point would you say that a 14, a 15, a 16, a 17-year-old should go to the adult court?
Oh, Steve, you can't answer that in a vacuum. You really can't, because there's 14-year-olds and then there's 14-year-olds. You could have a very naive, sheltered individual, with both parents in the home intact, that never knows anything about what's going on in the outside world. And then you could have somebody that grew up on the street. A number does not really appropriately define an individual.
That is true, but their brain is still not fully developed until 25, 30.
Well, I think the therapist will tell you, and I'm not a therapist, although I did a 30-week course to be able to provide counseling. I think therapists will tell you that that's a range, and it's not a set number. And in order to be able to appropriately respond to that, they would need to have more information. And, the legislature makes the laws. We work with what the legislature did, and we do our best. It's not a situation where I could give you a number and be able to hang my hat on that.
And I like the fact that you say that. So that brings me, I still have that other question.
Go back to
that brings me to this new question. What do you feel about judicial discretion on the bench? When one judge would read the law, same law, one judge would read the law and understand it this way, and another judge would read the law, same law, and understand it that way. Judicial discretion.
Well, I don't think that's judicial discretion. So I'm going to disagree with that. I don't know what that is because I don't know what that is. Let's go with that.
They call it discretion.
No.
What do you call it?
I think discretion is when a judge has a sentencing range and decides to give a year instead of 18 months. I think that's discretion. I think that the law is written and it's interpreted by judges. Mm-hmm. And when the interpretation falls flat, it gets appealed and it's interpreted again, and then it can go all the way up to the Supreme Court. Those much wiser than I make decisions, and they've got splits. They have unanimous decisions. You have dissenting opinions, but those opinions become precedent, and precedent governs all the way down. It trickles down all the way down to the state level. But in order to make a decision, judges should read the law and read decisions that have already been given by those wiser than us. Mm-hmm. And if they feel that their specific fact scenario doesn't match a decision where there's precedent, there should be a manner in which a judge can articulate why those facts don't fall within a certain area of the law. There's so much precedent out there in a variety of different ways. When there's no precedent, that's when you have issues. But I do not think judicial discretion is interpretation. I think that the law is clear. The courts have given us precedent, and we move forward. Now, the facts are what change all the time. So we have the facts, we have the law, and the judges listen to both sides, and then they decide.
So do you think a judge should take cases that they really don't understand the facts at the time? You think they should take those cases under advisement? And if they do take cases under advisement, how long should they take to respond back to the client and the defendant and the plaintiff?
Well, a judge should only respond to the attorneys.
The attorneys, then, for the plaintiff. And
typically, a judge can rule from the bench. Right. I've seen that happen quite a bit. And when you take something under advisement, I would, and again, this is very speculative because you're giving me limited information, and for me, I like all the facts in order to make.
I'm getting that. I'm reading that from you.
Yes, because I don't think any one case is like another. And so if you take something under advisement, typically you could ask for more briefing. You can get both sides to provide you more information. If you need more facts, you can say this is what I need from either side. But you should be able to obtain what you need from the attorneys. And I don't have a problem with someone taking something under advisement and not making a knee-jerk reaction, as I said earlier. However, I've always preferred someone ruling from the bench. That's the best I can answer that question.
Get it done and over.
No, I don't want to get it done and over. I want, as an attorney, I'd want to get it done. I want my answer because I feel like I make the right
Sometimes you probably would say you don't want that knee-jerk reaction. And when a judge says, okay, let me take this under advisement.
It's good.
You probably want them to take that extra time to clearly think it out and maybe even call up a friend or two, do a shout out.
I don't know.
Call up other judges, get a mentor maybe. And,
Well, they can call. I've had situations where a judge took a recess and walked down the hall and asked another judge, "Hey, what do you think of that?" I don't mind. I don't mind that at all.
What do you think?
Well, I had a judge that I used to appear in front of, whose wife was on the district court in California, and we used to kid around. The lawyers used to kid around whenever he took a recess. He's like, "Oh, he's calling his wife." Like he's going to get the...
He's doing a shout out.
Yeah, to his wife. But, it's not a perfect system. It's not a one size fits all.
But it's the best system in the entire world.
It absolutely is the best.
And I've done some traveling, so I know.
I have too. I've traveled quite a bit.
As long as it works, it could be a great system. Yeah,
but it needs to work. And it doesn't work without, people putting themselves out there. It's not something that's going to magically happen.
Absolutely.
People need to want to do the job, want to accept criticism, want to learn from their mistakes. And for me, I think and I want to put this diplomatically, I think when I went into the system 35 years ago into being a lawyer, I was in awe of the bench. You walk into the courtroom and it was like...
Quite intimidating.
So intimidating. And I think what's lacking now is that decorum and professionalism. There's too much, and I've been guilty of it myself, where you're so comfortable in the courtroom that you forget that sometimes it's somebody's first time. And they could be the public, they could be someone accused of a crime, they could be a victim. And when you're in there, kidding around with the bailiff and the judge and the defense attorneys and, where are you going for lunch? Or, just like a joke, it kind of knocks it down a notch. It just kind of knocks it down a notch. And I think that it can be offensive to the public when professionals engage in a manner that's not worthy of the profession.
Have you done jury trials?
Yeah, I've done over 100 jury trials to verdict.
Well, and what do you look for in a juror? I know you're going to say it depends on the trial,
No, it depends on the case.
But in a nutshell, what do you look for?
You can't, what I look for? I look what people are reading when they walk into the courtroom.
So if I was reading Liberty Watch, which is a conservative magazine, what would you think of me?
Was I the prosecutor or the defense attorney?
You prosecutor.
Well, I'd probably like you. If you come in with purple hair and I'm a defense attorney, I'm liking the purple hair.
You're liking that.
I'm
crazy.
Yeah, I'm kind of joking with you a little bit, tongue in cheek with some.
No, you're a little serious.
Yeah, no, yeah. But it's like you can't. A lot of it's got the juror that works for me may not work for my colleague. You also have to know your own role. You have to be able to, it's like any good salesman. The prosecutor's selling their side of the story, the defense is selling their side of the story. Sure. What works for my colleagues and friends in front of a judge. I have an attorney friend of mine that's from Jersey. She has the mouth of a sailor. And the stuff she gets away with in jury trial, I would never be able to pull off. If I got up there and I practiced what she said and I said it like she said it and I had her mannerism, I still wouldn't be able to sell it.
Funny you said that because we Veterans of Politics has a YouTube channel and it has a lot of court videos on there. And I also have a contract with Court Cam and Court TV. And one of the videos, it was an attorney and a judge getting into it. And cursing back and forth. And I send it to Court Cam, and they loved it. They aired it nationally. So and it says the attorney had a sailor mouth, and that was the caption.
And it does, you know, and I used to watch her when she was in trial, and I'm like, oh no, tell me she's not going to do it, and there it is, you know, but she can get away with it. Yeah. You know, she went and tried to imitate my style. It wouldn't work for her. You have to know who you are. You have to know your audience. You have to know your case. You have to know your judge.
Know your audience.
And you have to know your opponent. There's so much to know in selecting a jury and how you present your case based on the parties involved.
So, how important is a jury?
Extremely important. You can win or lose a case in jury selection.
Okay. So while I'm asking how important a jury is, what's your favorite amendment to the Constitution?
Oh my, you really want to? I think I'm going to decline to.
You're going to decline that? Mm-hmm. You're the first one.
Yes, because too many people read into what you say. It's not about me, it's about what people make it.
But you're a strong believer in the Constitution.
I'm 100% believer in the Constitution.
How about the Bill of Rights?
Bill of Rights.
Okay. Okay, Barb. Come on.
Okay. Well, in the court system, I've noticed a lot of things. People are having issues with, like, the mental health of the people that are going in, and what they're going to do with that. What are your thoughts on the mental health situation?
As an individual, as an attorney, or as a prospective candidate? Because as a prospective candidate for the bench, mental health would be something that would have to be brought to my attention. As an attorney, I think it's a very valid concern. It's something that plagues so many people in our society. There's veterans courts, there's programs, but the programs are only as good as they're allowed to be. You know, so there's a lot of deficiency. I think mental health issues lead to homelessness. Homelessness leads to other crimes. So it's a perpetual circle.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to get off that cycle. That being said, I think there's social groups and help out there. There's places like here that you can come. But in all honesty, I feel like people need to want to help people.
Yes.
And that's where it starts.
Yes, exactly. I've noticed a lot of people in Las Vegas especially are very aware of things like that, and are always looking out for one another and all that. So, and it's sad these people, in jail that really, really should not be, and that there's ways that they can get help otherwise.
Help is always good. I think a lot of money is needed to help, but I also think that a lot of times people throw money at things to feel better about themselves. And when in the reality of the big scheme of things is people need people.
Yes.
And you could be alone and suffer from mental health, and that's the worst thing. No money's going to fix that. Yes. It's a difficult situation.
There's so many specialty courts in Muni, and I think not so much in district, but mostly in Muni and justice court. What specialty court would you want to be a part of, and why? And if it's not there, what specialty court would you want to put into play?
Oh, there's so many. I worked with DUI court, drug court, veterans court in California, and those systems worked. Not always, but I think I liked the DUI court because I saw real progress. People were surrounded. Usually by the time you made it to DUI court, you're on your third or fourth DUI with a very serious drinking problem. And and that's something that should be changed. You should be able to go on your first. Because you become part of a group that helps each other overcome the addiction or the need, or helps you address the problem that leads to that. And you had the people come and read what it is they learned from the program, and people would come back to participate with the graduates, with the ones that were graduating there. So there was rounds of applause. I mean, it was just, it might sound cheesy, but it was just nice to see that, to see people coming together to help other people. So I think at any kind of a court, diversion court, or special program court, the aspect that I like is when people come together.
Some people use alcohol as medication.
Absolutely.
They self-medicate. And I think there's a big difference with one person that went behind the wheel. You shouldn't go behind the wheel drunk anyways, but there's a big difference between a person that actually have an alcohol problem, that are constantly drinking, to a person that drinks once in a while, but he was or she was upset with what happened on the job. Maybe they just lost their job and they drank because they're in some type of depression and they get caught. If a defense like that was brought to your attention and you're the presiding judge over that DUI case,
that doesn't make them
how would you navigate through that?
Well, I don't think I understand the question.
One person is just a drunk. And another person is just depressed and just made a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the law provides a different, the different parameters that you can go in. And within those parameters, if somebody made a mistake and they're contrite and they, come into the court and they make a statement to the court, I would consider it. Okay. I do not anticipate at all making law from the bench. I will.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. I will. But yeah, it's.
You're not going to legislate from the bench.
No.
That's why we have assemblymen,
right,
state senators, and the governor to make those decisions, right?
You can't. It's not in my.
In fact, I'm going to see him tomorrow.
I'm sorry?
In fact, I'm going to see him tomorrow.
Okay. Is he going to be here? Well, I think this is a good thing you do. I hope everybody takes advantage of this. I think it's a great opportunity to, not everybody's going to like me, but at least they get to know me.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got enough hate for both of us.
Yeah. Hate's not good. You got to let that go.
No, I'm talking about people not liking me.
Okay. Oh, good. Yeah. If they don't like you, you can take all the pressure off of me now. I feel as if the work you do as a judge is it's defined. And when you deviate from the definition and the parameters of the job that the people elected you to do is when you have problems.
Yes, you're so right. You seem like a very, I'm going to say, somebody that likes to think things through before you make a decision. You don't seem like somebody that jumps off the cuff.
It comes with age.
Okay.
I think that comes with age.
Well, 33 is not that old.
No. I guess that's my daughter's age. So. And I wasn't 10 when I had her. So. I do, when you're younger, I don't consider myself old by no means.
Because I'm probably older than you, so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I bet you I am.
We'll talk off camera, okay? I think that people always say, why don't you just retire? You're retired, you've got a good credit. And I think in order to have purpose and remain relevant, you need to be involved in something you love and something that has meaning.
Sure.
And you hear all the time how people retire, then they die. And I don't think it's coincidence. I think that they lost purpose. They didn't feel relevant any longer. I love the law. I love the courtroom. And I love the career I've had. So why would I stop?
Okay.
It's something that's meaningful, and hopefully I've helped people out there. I like to think I have, but there's always more to learn.
Absolutely. They always say if you stop learning, you stop growing.
Yep. You should quit. If you stop learning, go do something else, learn all over again.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I believe in the system. I couldn't do this job if I didn't believe in the system.
True.
And I think, as I was saying, with age comes wisdom. And I think it takes a long time to develop the experience necessary to make the appropriate decisions that impact people's lives. And I think when you do it every day and you don't think about it, you may not fully appreciate the impact you're having on society.
Could you explain exactly what a justice of the peace does?
You preside pretty much over cases that come before you, and you make decisions. It depends on the calendar that you have. It could be criminal cases. I was in front of a justice of the peace today, and she was kind of...
I was thinking more like traffic tickets, DUI, small claims matters.
I think civil is small claims, so you could, there's a variety. It's all that stuff. But today the judge was mediating between two exes, which I found it very entertaining because they both wanted restraining orders against each other. And the judge, I actually wanted to go talk to her afterwards because the way she handled the situation was so impressive to me. And had I not had a case before her, I would have asked to speak with her. I don't know her. I don't think she knows who I am. But I'd like to learn from her, put it that way, because if I get the position, she's somebody that I aspire to act like because of how she handled the situation.
Okay. I thought you'd say like your civil restriction. I forget what's the dollar amount. What's the dollar amount you could go up to in justice of the peace?
Dollar amount for what?
For sue. If I was going to sue somebody, what's the max?
Oh, I think those small claims, I think, is when you bring it yourself in small claims, I think it's 10 or they raise it to $15,000.
So what would be the max if an attorney was bringing a civil matter to you?
Well, the attorney, when you have an attorney, you could have it in small claims. Typically, an attorney would come in for the greater value.
And how much is that?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the max to lock somebody up is what, 6 months, correct?
Well, on a misdemeanor, it can be 6 months to a year. When you get to felonies, there's ranges, and it depends on the offense, and it depends on if there's any special allegations, and you've got charges of 10 to life. You stack them.
And you guys only do misdemeanor matters, correct?
Me?
The justice of the peace is only misdemeanors, or you go to felonies as well?
Whenever someone gets arrested and it comes before the court, it comes through the judicial system at the level of justice of the peace. So it enters the system into the justice of the peace, and then it stays there either till there's either the case gets resolved, there's a preliminary hearing, or it goes to the grand jury. So the justice of the peace can preside over the preliminary hearing and make a decision as to whether or not there's sufficient evidence to hold that individual to answer to go to district court, or
that's what I was looking for.
Oh, okay. You have to have very specific questions with me.
Okay.
I feel like words are our tools, and so when someone assumes a question, you could be completely wrong. So it's like with specificity comes better decisions and better answers.
So what do you look for on bail amounts?
Me as a defense attorney, or me as a prosecutor?
As a judge.
Oh, as a judge. Right. Well, again, I would refer to the legislation that's in place and apply the legislation and listen to the arguments and make a decision based on the facts and the arguments of the parties. And If the defendant makes a statement, the statement of the defendant.
Okay.
Everybody's different.
Do you believe in bail?
I do believe in bail.
Okay. Because if you didn't, then I'm going to say, well, you said you were a constitutionalist.
I do believe in bail.
Sometimes I ask questions, I already know the answer, and I'm trying to go back and forth to see if you'll change yours.
Have I changed any of mine?
No.
Not so far.
No, not so far.
I don't really think of my answer based on my previous answers, to tell you the truth. I was just kind of having a conversation with you. Yeah. So I hope to be consistent.
That's a good answer, too.
It is. I hope to be consistent based on who I am and not on what I think you want me to say.
Right. So. No, that's a good answer.
Okay.
Okay. So I had another one, but it just left my mind.
Give yourself a minute. I'll drink some water and it'll come.
You think it will come to me? Mm-hmm. Okay. So a judge, you believe that a judge should be a role model to the community, somebody that should be beyond reproach, somebody that should hold themselves to a higher standard than the normal everyday Joe.
I think that being a judge, whether it be any type of judge, can be a lonely position to be. I think you should stop any type of appearance of impropriety. I don't think that you live your life the same way, because let's just say hypothetically, I go to a restaurant and I'm getting drunk and I'm, being a loud mouth and stuff, and then the next day somebody comes and is in my courtroom and I have to preside over them. Not only do they lose respect for me, they've lost respect for our system. And like I said, the system is the best we have. So I do personally believe that you should be an example and attempt to be a pillar of the society. Not that you won't fall flat at times, but you do have to get up every day and do your best.
Okay. Barb?
I'm great. You are amazing.
Thank you so much.
So inspirational. Yeah. And very impressive.
Thank you.
Yes.
Did it come back to you?
No, it didn't. But we still have our endorsement interview process. But I don't get to sit on the endorsement panel. I'm not allowed. So the only time I could get.
So do they watch this and decide? How does that work?
No, that's a whole different
interview process.
That's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they might watch this and take stuff from this and ask.
I hope they do.
In the panel process.
I don't. Like I said, I think before we went on camera, there's nothing about who I am that I am ashamed or embarrassed about. I think we make mistakes at times, and you learn from them, and you move forward, and it helps you grow. Yes. I've always said that in a jury trial, I've learned more from my losses than from my wins. And I think it's true in life. Most rich people have declared bankruptcy. Most business owners have gone under once or twice. Most people that are really wealthy that haven't had things handed to them
and
have
struggled. End up in jail.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah. Things happen,
Because I've seen a lot of priests get handcuffed and go to jail.
You know what? It's like I said, we're all imperfect. And
that's what makes us humans. I tell people, I said, you know what? I don't know your religious background at all, but I tell people the only human that didn't commit sin that walked the face of the earth is Jesus Christ.
We know.
So we're all sinners. Mm-hmm. So shut up.
That's what I say too. The only perfect person we nailed to a cross. So Yeah, so absolutely. It's and I believe that we are here for a short time. And our main responsibility is to work on our interpersonal relationships. Yeah. And you need to respect each other whether or not you have differences and be able to either overcome those differences or put them aside and find some common ground and treat each other with respect.
And don't carry hate in your heart.
No, because that only kills you.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
people
let
don't
so much
realize
go.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, forgive.
Yeah. But never
Willful.
forget.
Listen, you know what? My husband always says to me that I don't forget anything. And I said, that's...
You like an elephant, huh?
That's what he says.
Yeah.
Is you're an elephant. And I said, that's both, an asset and a deficit. It's a little bit of a curse sometimes because there are times that you want to forget. Yeah. And simply because you want to forgive, you may be able to forgive, and you want to forget, but you can't. And I also say that forgiveness isn't a one-time thing. It's getting up every morning and choosing to still forgive. Yeah. And you have to work at it. It's not something that is automatic. And there are things that I get up every morning and I choose to forgive. Yeah. And it's hard, and sometimes it's easier than others, but not always.
I think I know what I wanted to.
Yeah, you see, I knew it would come back to you.
It was a domestic violence question.
Okay.
I just want to try to see how your mind thinks and see if there's any type of bias in there.
Okay.
Were you ever a victim of domestic violence?
Yes.
And how?
Not by either of my husbands.
And how would that play into part you presiding over a domestic violence case?
Well, it wouldn't play into part at all.
Good answer.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Would that trigger any type of trauma or anything
I choose
like
not
that?
to be a victim.
Okay.
I've had a lot of bad things happen to me, and I'm a survivor, not a victim.
Okay.
So it won't trigger anything for me. I'm open about some of the difficulties I've had in my life. Yeah. I talk to groups. I share. Not so much for me, but for others, because I feel like no pain is wasted if you share it.
Yes.
So somebody else can learn.
Okay. Well, Ms. Bravo, this has been a very enjoyable conversation. And what I was trying to portray is I wanted people to know you as a human being so they could relate to you. And that's how you get votes.
Yes.
Because if you don't relate to that person, you're not going to vote for that person.
That is true. Yeah. That is true. I hope I'm relatable. I try to be.
Yes.
My children have said that I intimidate their friends, but I don't think I'm intimidating. And she was like, Mom, you are sometimes intimidating. But that was when they were little.
Okay.
Not so much now.
Okay. So. You have anything else from Ms. Bravo?
Oh, it was wonderful to meet you.
Oh, yes, thank you so much. I appreciate
much luck on everything. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Well, Mark is going to zoom in on you.
Oh, no.
And then you have the closing. You could, why they should come vote for you and whatever you want to say. Maybe you got a fundraiser coming up. I don't know. And maybe you want to pitch that. And your point of contact, website, email.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Phone, stuff like that.
I would hope to earn your vote. I would ask you to do your research and make an informed decision and understand the candidate before you make that selection. I do think I'm qualified. My experience will translate to the decisions I make in the courtroom, and that I would represent all of you equally to the best of my ability. You can find my information at avabravo.com, and I hope to see you at the polls.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Bravo, for coming on the program. Ms. Leuschen, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Folks, that's Ava Natalia Bravo, candidate for Las Vegas Justice Peace Department 2. Folks, do your homework, research candidate, make sure when you go to that voting booth, in your heart of hearts, that's the candidate you want to put on that bench for the next 6 years. This is Steve Sanson and Barbara Leuschen with Veterans in Politics. Until next time.